What if I told you that you could replace the laces on your Nike Mercurial Superfly 5 with a zipper? What if I told you that there was a way to lace up your Nike Mercurial Superfly 5 that would make the laces almost completely invisible? Well, there is a way to do that, and I'm going to show you in today's video. What's going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you a video today to discuss and to show you how to lace up your Superfly 5s in such a way where it makes the lacing system completely invisible, giving the shoes a very unique look, a laceless look to a certain extent, but without compromising the performance of the shoe, which is really, really important. So how do you do it? Let's find out. Before we get into how this works and how to do it, I wanted to point out a few things. The first being that all of this information, this tutorial, this lacing setup is not just for the Superfly 5. You can do this on any boot that has a one-piece construction and uses a dual lace hole setup. So the Vapor 11, the Magista Opera 2, the Adidas Nemesis 17.1, that's just to name a couple examples. All of this information, this exact tutorial, is applicable to those shoes as well. Also, I know there will be people leaving comments down below saying, why don't you just remove the laces entirely? Because it's a one-piece construction to the upper, they'll stay on your feet. Just make them laceless. That's a very bad idea. If you think that's a good idea, you are quite simply wrong. If your shoes come with a lacing system attached to the boots out of the box, there's a very, very important reason why it's there. The lacing system has everything to do with the performance, the fit, the lockdown, the structural integrity, the support, the responsiveness, the stability, this general safety, everything that has to do with what a soccer cleat is supposed to do is directly attached to that lacing system. A lot of people really, really undervalue the importance of it just because there's a couple laceless shoes out there that have an actual system to replace the need for laces. That's the reason why they're laceless. That does not mean that you can just take any boot, remove the laces, and call it a day. That is not something you should do for any reason whatsoever. It's simply a bad idea. Don't do it. So how did I come up with this, and what's the logic behind this particular lacing system? Why does it work? Well, the reason why it works is because this is pretty much the same as this, believe it or not. Let me explain why. If you look at this particular lacing system, and it's not just a Superfly 5, this is the case with any shoe that has a one-piece construction and a dual lace hole setup. So basically with these dual lace holes, you have one lace hole here, and then side by side, you have a second lace hole. So what ends up happening is the lace goes in the first hole and out the second hole, and obviously it crisscrosses all the way up. It ends up looking pretty standard, but it's using two lace holes instead of one because of the one-piece upper. This allows them to eliminate the need for a tongue and create a very seamless material across the top of the foot. No overlapping materials this way. Well, I was thinking one day, obviously the laces sit on the outside because it's a one-piece upper. That's kind of the norm for a soccer cleat, but there is a certain section of that lace from lace hole to lace hole that ends up being exposed on the inside of the shoe. So wouldn't there be a way to just lace up the shoes so this ends up on the inside rather than on the outside? And the simple answer to that question is yes, there is a way to do it. And the end result is pretty much the same lacing system. It's just sitting on the underside rather than the top side. So if you look very closely here, you can see that there are still laces exposed on the outside of the shoe from the first lace hole to the second lace hole, and you still have the crisscrossing lacing pattern all the way up the foot up until you get to the very last lace hole, where obviously the top part has to be left on the outside of the shoe because you can't tie it up on the inside. That would create a lot of unnecessary bulk. It'd be extremely difficult, next to impossible to do, I would say, and it's just not going to be the most comfortable thing in the world. So essentially, and this sounds crazy, this is exactly the same as this. It's just that these laces are on the outside and these laces are on the inside. So in order to do this, it's pretty simple. Basically what you want to do is one tap, two taps, and then a third hard tap. All right, guys, that's the end of the tutorial. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. So step one is pretty straightforward. Remove the laces entirely from your boots. And just a fair warning here, guys. If you're going to try this, it is difficult and it will take you a little bit of time. Don't try to do this 2 minutes before your game starts just because you want to look cool, because you're very likely not going to be able to do it in time. So just bear that in mind. So what you want to do is take your laces, and essentially everything you're doing is the same as you would normally do, but you're lacing it up somewhat backwards or upside down, however you want to point it out. So the best way to start is to take your right hand and get it inside the shoe like this, because you're going to be using it from the inside. So you're going to have to imagine a lot of what I'm doing. What you want to do from here is take the first end of the lace and push it through. You can see the two holes right here. Push it through the one furthest to the outside. And then from the inside, you want to grab with your other hand and pull it across and push it through the same hole on the opposite side. You might push it through the wrong one like I did right there. You just got to feel around a little bit. And then there it is. From here, you want to pull it all the way through. You can remove your hand at this point and just make sure that they're even. So you want to just pull it across, measure it out, make sure that they're even on both sides. Oh, wow, I'm really failing, but there you go, that's it. So from here, your hand's gonna go back inside and that's where it's gonna stay for pretty much the rest of this particular setup. So from here, you're gonna use the second lace. So you're gonna lace it back through. I like to start from the inside and always have this side cross over first. Some people kind of just do back and forth. I don't like doing that, it just bothers me. So what I like to do, push this one right through like this, and then from here, you're pulling it across to the opposite side, and you're gonna put it again furthest towards the outside. So it's gonna come out of this hole right there, pull it like that. You're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side in the opposite direction, like this. You're gonna make sure that you go over top of where you pulled before. Make sure you pull everything tight because there is gonna be loose slack on the inside. If you don't, you can see which hole I pulled it through. Pull it like that. And then again, you're gonna start from this side, the medial side of the shoe. You could do it from the other side as well if you really, really wanted to. You're gonna go back through, and then again, you're gonna line up with the next logical lacing position, pulling through the outside, like this, all the way through, and repeat that all the way to the top. So we'll see you at the end. Now, once you've gotten to this point, so you can see that I have basically the top lacing position left on both sides. This is where you have an option because you're not going to be able to use both lace holes because of the way that you've laced them up. If you use both, the end of the lace is going to end up on the inside of the shoe, which is obviously what you don't want. So what I would personally recommend, given the way that this shoe is actually set up, is I would use the top lacing position because that's the one that's directly attached to the Flywire cable within the actual structure. This is there just as kind of more of a support element, where this one has a little bit more structure to the actual lace hole. So I would recommend using the outside one. So again, from here, you want to get your hand on the inside, which it should already be. There's really no need to remove it. You're going to go through this second hole once again, and then you're just going to weave it through the second hole right here, like that. Do the same on the opposite side, like this. And that is it. That is the entire lacing setup. You can see you just have the little bits from lace hole to lace hole all the way up, and then the laces end up sticking out at the top. So once you have them both laced up, it's gonna look like this. But obviously the laces are fully tight right now, which is not ideal to actually get these on. How do you loosen them? Well, again, keep in mind, this is just the standard lacing system. They're just not on the outside anymore. So all you really have to do is pull on these little attachment points where it goes from lace hole to lace hole. As you pull on it, you'll immediately notice that it pulls on the other side. So you end up with a loop like that as your slack, which is pretty much the same thing that would normally be happening on the outside of the shoe. You're just pulling on these individual little bits to loosen it all the way down. And I would recommend loosening it all the way down. You're gonna have a much easier time when you go to put them on. So once you have it all the way loose like this, you'll notice that you now have the ability for this middle part to stretch, which makes putting them on a lot easier. So once you have them on, you're left with these little loops kind of hanging on the outside at all the lacing positions. And just like you loosen them is the same way that you tighten them. So you're gonna pull on them, and you'll notice as you pull, it's just the opposite side to actually tighten underneath. So just keep pulling all the way up. And again, you're gonna find that it's gonna tighten just like a regular lacing system, because that's essentially what it is. Do that all the way to the top, however tight or however loose you like them to be. And then from there, pull like that. And basically you just have this little bit at the top to tie the laces, and that's what you end up being left with. Because of the one-piece design, there's really no way to hide this. That's what has to be left there at the top. But that's what you end up with as a final result. Looks a little bit strange in my opinion, but everybody has their own opinion on that. A lot of people like the laceless look, but let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. The end result in terms of feel is pretty well the same as stock, with the slight difference being the fact that the laces are directly against your foot, which again, some people will be more or less sensitive to, depending on what you like the feel of. Anyways, guys, I thought this was something that was at least somewhat clever that you'd find interesting. So if you do have something with a one-piece upper and a dual lace hole system, feel free to try out this. It's completely free to do, obviously. And if you don't end up liking it, it's completely free to just switch the laces back to the way that they're supposed to be. I've tried it myself. I personally don't like it. This is not something that I'm gonna be doing on any of my shoes like this. I'll just leave the laces the way that they came. That's my own personal preference. But if you like the way that this looks, or even like the way that it feels, some people really like the feel of the laces directly against their foot. It really gives a super, super tight, direct sensation to the upper. And obviously the look is something that's very unique as well without compromising the performance. Feel free to give this a try and let me know how it goes for you down below in the comments. I'd be really, really curious to hear what your experiences end up being. Anyways, guys, that is it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. If you enjoyed lacing system videos and want something interesting to do to your shoes that'll work on absolutely any soccer cleat at all, like this lacing setup right here, there'll be an end screen annotation where you can actually go ahead and watch my video tutorial on how to do this, which essentially creates a lace lock, even 2 lace locks within your boots, allowing them to stay tighter throughout the entire match if that's something that you struggle with. So be sure to check out that video. Any questions for me at all, leave them down below in the comments and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. All my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.